bump, bump, ba-da-dum, bump, bump, bring. That's a happy Bendy on a Wednesday morning. Welcome to another edition of the Blue Review. I'm Marcus Grant alongside Parker Bell with his lasers. Because Max Muncy had a couple of lasers yesterday as the Dodgers get a win in extra innings 6-5. I know we'll dive into it. Also, Parker, one, happy Wednesday, but two, we have a special guest today, hopefully.
Happy Wednesday. And yes, the legendary Jose Mota will be looking to join us around the 8:45 mark. Keep in mind for everyone tuning in, there is no first hour of Travis and DeMarco. So, hey, you'll get an extra 5 minutes of the Blue Review this morning and some Jose Mota.
Yeah, we get to hang out for a little bit longer. We'll talk with Jose about the ball club, just get his overall thoughts on what he has seen to this point in the season. But what we did see last night, a 6-5 win in extra innings. But before we get into that, I want to give a shout out to the folks at LAX, Los Angeles International Airport, transforming the travel experience, saving guests time, just trying to make things a lot more pleasant with your travel journey. You can go to flylax.com/transforminglax. All right, so 6-5. A game that, I know it's June, and baseball games have a lot of ups and downs. But last night, Parker, ups and downs. The Dodgers go up 4-1. Then they're trailing 5-4. They can't find any offense until suddenly the offense shows up at the perfect time for this team. So overall, a stressful but I guess successful night when it's all said and done.
Stressful but successful. And how about those Max Muncy haters? Where are you at now, everybody? We were in shambles. You were all in shambles, chat. And look at him now. We'll pull up his stats in just a second, but a great game overall. Just seeing the offense light up and being able to have that spark that you're used to from this Dodger squad was great to see. And I mean, Freddie finishing things off with a very interesting double and walk off. Whatever Nimmo was doing back there, he must have got lost in the light. I'm not quite sure, but hey, we will take it. We will take the W.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was very weird. I have a friend who's a Mets fan who texted me this morning saying, I don't know how Nimmo didn't catch that ball. A lot of spinning around, a lot of just generally looking lost. I think, Parker, he thought that it was going to leave the park off the bat. I mean, he played it like it was going to be a home run and he was going to have to try and rob it. And then he turns one way, turns the other, it hits off the base of the wall. And Tommy Edman scores the winning run to make it 6-5. But leading up to that, you mentioned Max Muncy and the Max Muncy haters, and we know there are plenty of them out there, both in the chat and outside of the chat. I thought last night was, whatever you think of Max Muncy, you saw it last night, right? If you think he's the guy whose offense is coming around and can be a key part of this team, then you saw that with the 2 home runs. If you think he's somebody who defensively is a liability over at third base, you saw that too, because he made the big error in the 5th inning that allowed the Mets to score a couple of unearned runs and then take the lead. I feel like we are a Max Muncy friendly show, so I tend to side more with the 2 home runs. I acknowledge the error is a problem, but the offense is coming around to the point that maybe it's starting to outweigh some of the bad plays in the field.
Yeah, I think what they were calling it on the broadcast was redemption. He was having, of course, some muffed balls, and it's happened throughout the season, and we can recognize that on this show. We have, but we've also said that the offense will turn around enough to where it'll make up for it, and it has such so far. I mean, I guess you can pinpoint either when we started to make fun of him on the chat or when he got the glasses. whatever you want to use as the catalyst. In the last, I think, 29 games since he's been wearing those shades, he's 275 with 8 home runs, 30 RBIs, and only 18 Ks. As opposed to when he wasn't wearing his glasses and we weren't talking too much trash on him. He had, I think, 34 Ks and 180 batting average. So there's funny ways to go about it. But overall, that's just Max Muncy in a nutshell. You're going to get really, really high highs and really, really low lows. And for this Dodger squad, I think that is okay because you have around him a solid 5 guys who are consistent throughout the whole season when you talk about Shohei, Mookie, Freddie, Teoscar, and Will Smith.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of the case. I mean, the fact that he's starting to come to life now is certainly encouraging. I know he doesn't want to. I was reading this morning, Max Muncy, like, he acknowledges that yes, getting the glasses has certainly helped. He doesn't want to take away though from the work he's been doing to put it in the cage to kind of get things turned around. I just know that last year Kike Hernandez went to the optometrist. He got glasses. He started to rake. This year Max Muncy went and he got some new glasses. He started to rake. So whoever this optometrist is, if he or she is not on staff already, they should be at this point because
Yes, bring them in for every. I mean, maybe Tommy needs some glasses. I don't know. We can get to that.
maybe Tommy Edmond, maybe Michael Conforto could use an eye exam or something like that. But for whatever reason, Max Muncy is hitting the ball now. He looks more like the Muncy that we were expecting to see, that we have seen in so many years past.
Yeah.
So that is certainly encouraging. Also encouraging from last night was Clayton Kershaw. And it wasn't his cleanest outing. When he left, the Dodgers were trailing. He gave up 5 runs. 3 of them were earned. And Parker, he wasn't necessarily hitting his spots. It looked like the command and the stuff wasn't quite there. But I thought he battled. I thought he battled last night, and he gave the Dodgers a chance. And really, at this point, from pretty much all the starting pitching, but I think especially from Clayton Kershaw, that's kind of all you can ask on a nightly basis.
Yeah, we got 92 pitches out of Kershaw, and I know that we're all on strikeout watch, and we only got 2 last night. But to be giving up only 6 hits when we were talking about on his last appearance, he was getting hit really hard. I think he was getting hit a little less hard. Of course, he wasn't finding his spot as much, which led to the high pitch count. And then when he tried to throw in that strike zone, we saw those hits come. But I think to see that you only had 3 earned runs, I think was the official. Yes. I want to say it was only the 3.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible performance from Kershaw yet again. It's just one of those moments where we have him because we need him. And if you're going to get performances like this out of Kershaw to instill some confidence in the offense, whether he's giving up runs or not, he's still putting up as best as he can. That's incredibly encouraging because we're still waiting on everybody else, and Kershaw's holding it down. Maybe we didn't expect it to be this. Honestly, yesterday was what we expected.
Yeah,
I think that's probably a much better way to put it. That is a performance we will get quite often. 3 earned runs, maybe not 92 pitches, but the fact that he did go was really good because he didn't have to waste as many arms in the bullpen.
Yeah, and look, the Dodgers were definitely trying to get him through 5 innings. I know there was a thought at some point that maybe they would have pulled him when Pete Alonso came to the plate. Alonso gets the RBI double, and then Nimmo beats out the ground ball at first base, which allows the go-ahead run to score. When originally they called Nimmo out on replay, it was a pretty easy replay challenge. It was obvious that Nimmo beat Kershaw to the bag, so no surprise that they overturned that, and that's what allowed the go-ahead run to score. At that point, it was when Dave Roberts decided to go to Ben Kasparius, who shut it down, which gets me to the next point about last night. The bullpen did its job. Kasparius goes 2 2/3. Vesia gives you 2/3 of an inning. We see a new arm enter the chat. Jose Urena goes through, gets you 2/3 of a scoreless inning. Bonda with a third, and then the biggest one, Tanner Tanner Scott gets you a scoreless inning in the 10th. Not just a scoreless inning in the 10th. He strikes out Juan Soto. He strikes out Pete Alonso, and then gets Nimmo on a ground ball. I know it's only one outing, but that's the Tanner Scott that we've been waiting for the last few weeks.
Theme of the night, redemption. This is the redemption night. By far, the best Tanner Scott has looked all year. I think that keeping that slider on Soto was just amazing. And I mean, the stuff was there. Whether or not he's not going to just find it in one day, one flip of the switch. But this is an incredibly encouraging sign. In the highest of highest leverage moments, he came in, he delivered 1, 2, 3 when they needed it. And I was upset, but I wasn't going full John Ireland. If anybody was listening, I mean, he was just full 180 on Tanner Scott, saying he'd rather have Steve Mason out there closing the game. and I was never on that full train, but listen, he showed us last night. He still has it in there. It's just we gotta pry it out of him. And I mean, Dave is certainly doing that because he's pitching him a lot.
He's pitching him a lot, and they made the point on the broadcast, and we've said it here too on this show, is there just aren't a lot of options right now. Like you have to keep putting Tanner Scott back out there just because where else are you going to go in the bullpen? Vesia has been shaky. You just don't have a lot of back end arms that you can use, right? I mean, Urania is a guy that, is going to get some work to just kind of eat some innings where they need him to. But you're not going to use Kasperius in a closer situation. Bonda has been up and down this year. You're just waiting, right? Michael Kopech hopefully is back really soon. Kirby Yates hopefully back in the next week or two. So some of those arms are starting to come back a little bit. But for now, you sort of have to keep pitching Tanner Scott because he is the only real closer you have at this point.
No, yeah. But you mentioned Ben, and I just want to give him his flowers. They don't win that game without Ben. I think he's now at a 2.54 ERA, which would be probably good for. I know he's top 3. He might be second at this moment in terms of he's technically still under the rookie name for bullpen ERA. So in a minimum amount of innings pitched, he's like top in the league. So got to give Ben his credit. He has been the most consistent guy on this team.
Yeah, for sure. Ben Kasperius has been amazing so far this year. Hopefully he can kind of keep that going. A great guy to go to in the middle innings, whether it's holding a lead or trying to keep the game close. He's done an excellent job so far this season. So we'll see if that keeps going for sure. Other things from last night, Mookie Betts, welcome back, Mookie Betts. A couple of hits and scoring on an extra base hit in the first inning as well. I know there was some concern about the toe and how it was going to respond after missing a few games. And it seems like Parker, Mookie is back to being Mookie, which is great.
Yeah, we were worried based off of the verbiage and how Doc was talking about him, but he went out there. He looked great. He looked like typical Mookie. So I don't think anything to worry about really on that end. But just overall, the chat is bringing it up, and I wanted to, I guess, ask you for your opinion because we talked about it in our group chat. A lot of swing and misses in the dirt. Understandably, when I think it was Garrett who came in, he's one of the most nasty dudes in the league. Yeah. But in general, throughout the day, they were getting a lot of those balls out there in the dirt and they were swinging and missing. Were they a little too aggressive? What do you think it was there?
Yeah, I think they just got anxious. I think especially after they put up the 4 spot in the first inning. And I mean, at the time, it didn't look like Tyler McGill was going to last very long in the game. I mean, I figured, okay, he gave up 4 in the first. He threw 30 something pitches. I'm like, well, okay, this may be a short outing. Maybe they can get into the bullpen early. I said last night he pulled a Gonsolin where he was awful in the first and then regrouped and shut the Dodgers down the rest of the way. Didn't give up another run through the remainder of his 5 innings. So, I think last night they just got a little bit over aggressive. And then you mentioned the guys coming out of the bullpen. Like Reed Garrett just has nasty stuff. Isn't possible to hit. So I know second and third, nobody out with Freddie, Teo and Will Smith coming to the plate. You feel like they're going to score a lot of runs. It didn't happen. Fortunately, everything worked out in the end. And it was all good. I see, though, that we have our guest with us. It is, we mentioned at the top of the show, the one and only Jose Mota. You can see him over on Spectrum Sportsnet. Jose, we appreciate the time this morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Great to be on, man. It's been a long time since I've been in this production with you guys.
Well, we are glad to have you. Well, why don't you get your thoughts first on last night, because it was the highs and lows of a baseball game, and I feel like it was the highs and lows of Max Muncy. He gives you the 2 home runs, also has the big error, but last night felt like a really good win for this team.
It was one of those feel-good wins. Having been in the clubhouse for a long time myself, since I was a child, I know there's some wins that really pick up a team, and the Dodgers needed something like this happen. Obviously, the last couple of days before that, a lot of emotions also, considering the Yankees stymied them from a former teammate at Ryan Yarbrough, and then the heartbreaking loss the day before in extra innings after the offense came back against a very good reliever in Edwin Diaz. But then you talk about Max Muncy, a guy that I really believe in, and I really believe this guy, obviously on the offensive side, is finding it. On the defensive side, we know there are some issues that you cannot hide, but I always say that a player that makes an error is costly, especially with a guy like, Clayton Kershaw on the mound. always wants that last chance, the one more
Mhm.
opportunity to make it up. Maybe not the ball hit to him again, perhaps yes, but you always want a chance with the bat, and boy, he made the big time out of that one.
Yeah, Jose, it was a game of maybe we can call a redemption arc. We see Muncy, who's been getting a lot of flack from fans and those around the league, as well as some of the guys in the bullpen. The bullpen came out and they really handled business for Kershaw yesterday. What did you see from those guys? Tanner Scott getting that massive 1-2-3 in the 10th, Kasparius being consistent yet again.
Asparis to me is a hidden gem, and I shouldn't say that because the league knows about him now. I mean, something with Jack Dreyer. I mean, these guys. I'm glad to hear Dave Roberts before the game yesterday. Talk about the fact that the kids' gloves are off. These guys are rookies, but they have handled such great opportunities in a way in which now they're going to be pitching in leverage situations. So, without Ben Casparius, you don't win that game. Obviously, without the air, those runs don't score. But there's so many things we go back to, and you got to live in the moment. And the moment was that Tanner Scott needed to step up, and he did. And
Hmm.
I know that. I mean, I saw some eyes rolling, and I can just hear the murmur all around social media when they saw him warming up. But it's like Bobby Cox. I mean, we know who Bobby Cox is, right?
Mhm.
Bobby Cox had the simplest way to explain this about struggling relievers. And he goes, Jose, here's the thing. For me to get a reliever to find himself again, you know where it needs to happen? It needs to happen in the game.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's painful. Relievers that are struggling don't have this luxury of going, oh, by the way, I'm off for 3 days because I'm going to go work on my stuff. You can't do that, right? It doesn't happen. So I'm glad it came back. But I think the main thing is knowing that you had a combination of, the most powerful offense in baseball that gets one more chance to hit. And that is a huge difference with this offense. And guys that always believe you have a combination of, a lot of power, but also guys that can get on base and make you get better pitches to hit. So it was one of those wins that redemption, yes, feels good. But I think to hear Tanner Scott talk about the things he's been working on now, which is things that obviously as a former player I could see from a couple of weeks ago, even before by spring training, pitching up in the zone, not completing his pitches. But man, he threw some dandy sliders yesterday. And that really was, I think, the first time as a Dodger that we've seen the Tanner Scott from last season.
Yeah, I mean, he had Juan Soto tied up in knots last night, and then really got in on the hands of Pete Alonso as well too. So a really really good outing for him. But bigger picture with this bullpen, obviously, Jose, the story with the bullpen is injuries. Could we see this team be a buyer at the trade deadline, or is it just a matter of just getting guys back healthy again for this pitching staff?
Well, I think is a great question. It's a great combination. I'll tell you why. Because during the month of December, when the Dodgers are making all these acquisitions, and the rest of baseball was complaining, well, Andrew Friedman clearly said, we want to make July now. Like now, it's so hard to trade for relievers during the deadline because the price is super high. You end up paying a lot for a guy that perhaps is a seventh inning guy. You're not going to get a closer. You're not going to get a closer in July. That's for sure, right? So think about this. You got Michael Kopech on his way back. He threw 101 the last time he was out in rehab. He made 9 appearances, by the way, on rehab, a prolonged rehab. Kirby Yates is already testing that hamstring with some activities on the field. The bullpen and the live BP is coming. And then you just acquired a former All-Star, Alexis Diaz, who's not even 30 years old. So
Hmm.
to answer your question, there it is right there. It is exactly what they're looking for. We don't know how long a guy like Blake Trinan is going to be out. And let me tell you, you talk about value. Blake Trinan is perhaps the most valuable reliever overall the Dodgers have. But there's the uncertainty of him, obviously, with all the mileage and obviously the age and things like that. But we know at some point later on he'll be back. But they're doing that now, and I think it's great to just have competition. Is great to me. Get Alex Vesia where he needs to be. Anthony Banda where he needs to be. But the reinforcements are coming, and I look forward to it.
Yeah, so I mean, this is the theme of the season, really, Jose. Not at full strength, but this team is still first place. They're still handling business. On the other end, on the offensive side, Jose, you're looking at, guys like Tommy Edman who were coming off of injuries, guys like Muncy, of course, who were struggling. How do you feel about this lineup from the bottom half? 6 through 9. Of course, we know what 1 through 5 you're getting and how well they've been performing. How are you looking at this bottom half of the lineup and how they're going to be performing the rest of the season?
I mean, truly, the only question here is Michael Conforto is pretty
Mm.
much the big question mark. Like, is he going to get out of this funk? Is he not the player that he was? And that's the biggest question. But in terms of the other guys, if you think about, the presence of Tommy Edman, the surging of Andy Pajes, now obviously in that part of the lineup, when you don't have Will Smith, you're going to have, Dalton Rushing, who we know there's more in the tank as he gets used to not being an everyday player in the big leagues. When Miguel Rojas is in there, he contributes with a bat by playing his game. Kike, same thing. So there's, players now that at least you have a chance to go out there and turn the lineup around without forgetting Hyun Kim. Hyun Kim will continue to be a factor here for many reasons because he is a presence on the field defensively. And man, this guy can fly. No wonder they call him the Comet, man. He is a difference maker in so many ways. So I feel much better that you asked me that question now than about 3 weeks ago about 6 through 9, because certainly there's a lot of hope now with the lineup turning around and giving it to Shohei, to Mookie, to Freddie, Will Smith, and Tail because things are happening and going the right direction.
You mentioned Hyun Kim, and we all knew about his defense. We knew about his speed. I don't think anybody anticipated his bat to be as productive as it has been so far. Will we get to a point where Dave Roberts is going to give him starts against lefties? I know right now he's not playing against left-handed pitching. Will he earn a spot in the lineup kind of on a more everyday basis soon?
I think he will. I think he will because he's handled lefties decent. I mean, he had a long home run the other day against the Yankees against the lefty, and as he learns the speed of the game in the big leagues, he almost wanted to like gradually just throw him out there. So you'll leave a man when a lefty comes in the middle of the game. You have a cushion offensively, but you don't want to overexpose him and get the confidence down because you have options. And that's the beauty of it. When you have options, you can allow yourself to be criticized by not keeping a hot bat in the lineup. And we saw that happen. A guy gets 4 hits nowadays and he doesn't play the next day. I mean, go figure, right? That's like modern day baseball. But because he can put the ball in play, and if he finesses a swing and makes it a little bit shorter, lefties he's going to be able to handle. And one thing about lefties too is this: if you're a power hitter and you go 1 for 5 against lefty and hit a home run, nobody says anything. You're hitting 200, right? If you're not a power hitter, you better get your 2 for 6s and at least be decent enough, right? But he needs to pull the ball and play against lefties to show that confidence. And I'll go back to recent history. Gavin Lux, lefty hitter, through the years, had to earn the chance from Dave Roberts in the front office to go out there and be a guy that at least is going to give you a decent at bat. And I think at some point it will happen as Hisam continues to adjust his swing and his approach and knowing more about the strike zone at this level.
So someone who is very familiar with the strike zone at this level, Jose, Shohei Ohtani. You've been around him in his career for a while now, of course, with your time of down south and then here with the Dodgers. What what more what more will we get from Shohei? I mean, it's every year something different. And this year, of course, he's nearly on pace for 60. His stolen bases, of course, have slowed down the last month or so. But what are you expecting towards the end of this season? What Shohei's new, accolade will be? Because it's something different every single year. We know he's the unicorn.
Hopefully, add to all the offensive side another 5 or 6 wins on the mound. I mean, think about this. How crazy is that, right? We're going to talk about a guy that's an offensive force. And then on top of that, say, there's a possibility that he might win 5 games or 6 games for you. It's crazy to think about that. And, through my time with the Angels, as I spend more time with Shohei and I watch him work out and having conversations with him, his mind is one that it's always running. It's always ticking. It's always wants to get better. So as I watch him perform, and believe me, I saw him struggle mightily his first spring training, where he just could not get the ball out of the infield.
Mm-hmm.
They finally got rid of that leg kick. He became better. Then he found the power. Then came the injury. So, I think sometimes you got to do a deeper dive on Shohei. This guy's had a lot of setbacks in his career as a big leaguer, from the injuries and the inefficiency. not being productive at times offensively and also on the mound, and he's overcome all of that. So my answer always is with guys like that, as I saw with Albert Pujols through his career, as I saw with Manny Ramirez, as I saw with Mike Trout, I never put any limits on these guys. I mean, who would have thought he comes in as a free agent to the Dodgers, not just any little team, to the Dodgers, starts with the distraction of the translator, okay, goes through the injury, another brace in his elbow, and then comes on and becomes the first 50-50 guy. In other words, no, he might hit 60, 68. Who knows what this guy's going to do? But at the same time, when he starts pitching, they'll be a little bit more careful because Shohei sometimes is a guy that you need to protect from Shohei.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, fingers crossed everything goes well. When he's at his best, he is the best player in the game. Obviously, it means a whole lot for this Dodger team, both potentially on the mound and certainly at the plate with everything he does. Jose, we appreciate you hanging out with us. Before we let you go, any updates on your dad? How's he doing?
Oh, Pops is doing very well. Thankfully, gradually he is getting better. His visits with him to therapy are productive. I see him pushing himself with a lot of things that he's being exposed to right now. But boy, he's keeping an eye on the Dodgers. He always keeps an eye on the Angels too, because I was there for so many years. But he does give me his game report every single day about what the Dodgers did and what he saw. But I really thank everybody, including you guys, and through this platform, and so many people and fans all throughout the world that have asked and prayed for him. So hopefully soon we'll see him again back at Dodger Stadium.
Absolutely. We continue to think about him, and we wish the best and everything there. So, Jose, man, we appreciate it. I know you'll be out of the ballpark tonight. Enjoy the ball game. Hopefully we can catch up with you again at some point later in the season.
It'd be great, my friends. Thank you. Gracias. And arigato gozaimasu.
All right. There you go. Jose
Jose.
Mota, you can check him out, of course, on Spectrum Sportsnet. As always, Dodgers Game 3 tonight against the Mets. Tony Gonsolin getting the ball against Griffin Canning for New York. 7:10 first pitch there. And we'll be back with you tomorrow to wrap up what happened last night at Dodger Stadium. Thanks to everybody in the chat. I saw it was very lively. I think there was a Mets fan or two in the chat there today as well. Thanks to the folks at LAX, as always. Stick around on the ESPN LA YouTube channel. No first hour of Travis and DeMarco. They will be on a little bit later, and then we'll have our regular programming throughout the day. So that'll do it. For Parker Bell, for Jose Mota, I'm Marcus Grant. It's been the Blue Review, presented by LAX here on ESPN LA. We will see you tomorrow. Good.
Let's go Dodgers.